Please don't hold anything blocking people behind you. Lower any sign so that you don't block others. We will start in 1 minute. Please observe a moment of silence so we all can calm down to allow the President Forum to start. Observe 1 minute of and all are here to hear from and to have a dialogue with our President. To ensure a smooth running of the forum, I would like to set up some simple ground rules for all of us to follow. Number 1. As English is the common language understood by all members of the university, the forum will be conducted in English. Number 2, please stay seated at all times so that we can all see the President on the podium. If you want to ask a question, please go line up on my right. There is a mic stand over there, and you'll take turn to ask questions. To allow for more questions from more people, we only allow 1 question per person. Feel free to ask questions in all areas, but please do not use profanity language, any language that contains personal attack or is offensive to others. We ask everyone to respect each other and do not interrupt or shout over the person who is asking the question, even though you disagree with the view that is shared by that person. So to start, we will invite the President, President Wei-Shi, together with some colleagues in respective office, to provide some updates and remarks. Then we'll have time for questions. President Xi.
Good afternoon. It is a very special occasion today for so many of us to gather here. Usually for such a forum in the past, we see probably a couple dozen people to join. The last time when we did in late August, we had several hundred people. Today, several times, all gathered here with a short notice. The reason is very clear. Hong Kong is in such a critical situation. Many of us all feel very strongly in terms of how and what to be done. I also feel that regardless of any commentary in terms of the level of the contest on the street, I personally feel that the mood of our citizens, by and large, is worsening because of frustration, because of disagreement, and because many of us feeling despair. This is certainly widely shared, including, I would say, probably all of us. The mood certainly has been evolving. Several months ago, it centered around one particular bill, and it has been evolving in part, I guess, unfortunately, because of the way it was and has been handled. And that is unfortunate. And we had a chancy gathering on Monday evening, just right there at our piazza. I certainly, again, saw firsthand, along with some of those who were there, how many of our students and members felt about the current circumstances. All these are real and with us. Any way we view this, I would say we are all in this together. We cannot go through this if we cannot find a workable, agreeable way forward. And I will also certainly agree that it is not just up to us, an official body of the government, to do this. We must come to the terms with strong leadership and accommodating approaches from our own government. And I, for one, feel that it has not been the case. And many of us have repeatedly urged our government, senior officials, including chief executive, to be responsive. And I will say here, right now, in front of all members of HKUST, this same position has not changed. His first point. We had a tragic event. One of our own was very, very seriously injured. He's in the hospital, as we know. Many students, some students who had the opportunity to get access, several colleagues, and myself visited the student and the parents. We were there in the last 3 days. We went there each of the 3 days, including today. Since we have this forum, we went there earlier, around noontime. With that, as such a serious and unfortunate situation, we are offering whatever we could in consultation with the family. And we also fully respect the family's strong wish not to publicize and not to disclose. We are doing that. So I won't be able to explain too much in detail, but we will continue to provide and to support and to work with the parents. This is the first thing I would like to mention, okay? We also, yesterday, sent out two letters specifically. One to the company Link, who owns the garage where this tragic incident took place. We have been corresponding with the company. They actually have been very responsive. So we are trying to find a way to answer some of the very basic questions all of us have. In parallel, we are setting up a university-wide portal. We actually would encourage anyone with relevant and useful information to upload. Once we will set it up and share the information with everyone very soon. The portal will be available for any of us to get access and also to provide input. We collaborate once confirmed with the company. So all along, we hope there will be a clear and comprehensive exercise since this involves our own students. We also sent out a letter to the police commissioner yesterday asking for guidelines and information related to the operation of tear gas. Since we have one of our own students so seriously injured, we feel that it is entirely appropriate for us, members of HKST, to ask for such source of information. So we can be informed, we can also understand how this tear gas is supposed to be used officially. That is very important. So we are waiting to hear from the police commissioner on this. I know there are several questions that members of the university have been asking. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite some of my colleagues to offer factual update so we all know where we stand. I think this is one thing I suggest we do. One is related to the student arrest and what will happen afterwards. Let me just say, first of all, as far as the university is concerned, for any non-academic matters, unless it is legally decided, university has no position to take. In other words, whether one is arrested or even charged or not, that is outside officially what our guidelines will apply. We will not take any action whatsoever. We will simply have to wait, if there is a legal process, for the process to be fully concluded. Okay? And between now and then, whether a student or staff, faculty, or what, whether this for the current, but for the matters related to the current situation or any other situation, is the same. The university does not have a position because there's a very clear separation between what an academic institution like HKST and the rest of society will separate. If, on the other hand, this is an academic matter without the grade, plagiarism, falsification of information data, that is different. That we have all the guidelines and principles that we will go through our own process for our, not only for our students, but also for staff and for faculty. Okay? This is applicable to all of us, even though maybe in somewhat different kind of context. So when, if and when any member should be convicted in the court, my understanding is, since this was not really contemplated very clearly, we probably don't have very clear policy. But let me invite Ms. Terrence Wang, the Director of Court, Counsel, and the Senate Secretariat. I think Terrence's office is a keeper of the university guidelines and policy. She can just offer some factual extraction so everybody can know what our policies officially state. Okay? Terence, please.
Okay, thank you, President. Thank you, student. Actually, what the President just described is correct. We have separate procedures for, what have been in the court and in the university. So currently, we have student regulations against student misconduct. So the university may take disciplinary actions against the students who violate rules and regulations for good conduct. So the misconduct would include defamation, assault, discriminatory or against other members of the university, willful damage or defacement of property of the university, etc. So according to the regulations for students' conduct, only if there are serious cases or where the Dean of Students determines the university's interest will be best served, the Dean may refer the case to the Student Disciplinary Committee. So there will be Student Disciplinary Committee procedures only for, serious student cases.
I guess, in other words, there's really no clearly written particular directives. In such a situation, our due process is we need to seek our Senate and or Council's consideration because this is a very special situation. We do not have a very clear guideline and hence it is entirely inappropriate and actually unauthorized for any office or individual to make decision. That any such cases would have been brought up to our university's governance body for further deliberation and consideration. And personally, even though I don't have the right to speak on behalf of the governance body, I believe, based on HAAC's established spirit, we consider the circumstances, we consider the background, we also consider the overall contributing factors surrounding this. Okay, so this will be a process if we ever go to that point for the governance body, which includes representatives from faculty, from staff, and from students to participate, to discuss. Okay, this is one thing. Since Terence is here, let me just take another topic for her to share. There has been concern about the recent election of the student representative on our university council. Even though I saw that multiple messages, announcements were issued by the election officer, who is our academic registrar. It doesn't seem to have clarified sufficiently for some members. And on that, I would like to invite Terence again to offer some clarification based on what we have heard from some members. Terence.
Thank you, Wei. Actually, for the election procedures, for complaints against, different parties, we have different procedures. For, complaints against the election officer, that will be handled by the council chairman and the president. So I, as the director of court councils and senate secretariat, I'm supporting, the president and the council chairman to investigate the complaints against election officer, which I guess this time we had, a number of complaints against the election officer. So in parallel, there are, complaints against other members which are involved in the election. That is excluding, the election officer. So say the people supporting the election. So those complaints will be dealt with by another investigation committee. So currently, we are conducting meetings and investigation procedures, and we hope that we can conduct a meeting in an orderly manner so that we can, give the report and conclusion very soon. We will announce the result to the university community once the results are known.
I guess some question is, if the results, whatever outcome is announced, can there be appeal?
Yes, actually, according to the election regulations, we have an appeal mechanism. So if there is any complaints against the investigation procedure, the council standing committee will conduct the investigation based on the appeal.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I'd like to also update everybody is, from actually Monday evening, during the gathering and exchange, I heard from one student who told me about the gap. Since right now there's no recommended student representative on the council officially yet, and the previous student representative has served his term fully. This has never happened before in our history, and I suppose that the university's guideline back to the early days didn't really anticipate such a situation. So we have some kind of ambiguous, kind of inconclusive situation. Based on the guideline, the term is finished by the previous member. On the other hand, we cannot recommend and appoint the new member because of the ongoing process. So that becomes very, very strange. We have discussed, and it doesn't seem to be inappropriate. Tomorrow and day after tomorrows, we have congregations. During congregations, council members are invited to join on the stage. So we have clarified some of our own internal communication gaps. We have issued an invitation to the previous student council representative. I hope he will be able to join during the congregation. Okay, this is the one thing I'd like to take this opportunity. I think we certainly have rules, guidelines, but for unexpected and somewhat unclear situation like now, even though the guidelines are relatively clear, but they may not have covered sufficiently the current scenario. So for the spirit of the congregation, it doesn't seem to be wrong to invite the former member to join us on the stage in celebrating the milestones for our graduates. This is another thing I'd like to take this opportunity to update everybody, so it is clear. The third issue is we have right now in the process some disciplinary related cases for some students. There was one due to the disciplinary committee's previous procedural matters, which was communicated back and forth. There are also multiple episodes involving some more recent situations. And these are all ongoing in the process. Since we are gathering here, if I may, I would like to invite our Dean of Students, Professor Kin Chao, and then our Provost, Professor Lionel Ni, to give everybody an update, because these committees are different and they are being led by different offices. Professor Kin Chao first.
All right. I'll try to report on a few situations. Okay, so the first thing, in fact, a lot of students were asking about how much our university is providing support for our students. In fact, since June, we already set up a helpline, and I believe that many of you are aware of that helpline, that whenever there's any situation you feel that your assistance is needed, you're welcome to call. And constantly, we are hearing students complaining that actually they say that they won't be able to get through it. But then on the other hand, I can assure you, in fact, we have multiple teams of staff in DSTO. We are having 24-hour alert to take the call. We have multiple lines that go from one line to the second line to the third line if the one is being taken up. But I can tell you, over the past couple of months, we have only received about 20 calls. And all this, in fact, they were query as well as clarification, also about help that they need to have support, which are all settled so far. One case which turned out to be a little bit problematic is because of the connection. And we don't know whether that particular call did call back again. So that's, as a total, up to today, my information that I've collected is that we have only 3 cases who are charged. And they have already gone to the court and go through the process of investigation. And among those, in fact, we've been in contact with them. They have been provided legal support, and initially we provide the legal support from our alum that if help is needed, we would provide that. But on all 3 cases, in fact, the students seek external support for their legal advice. All right, so that's the current status. But in case, I think in the future, if they feel that it is necessary to have the university support on further legal assistance, we'll be happy to do so. Okay, so that's the second issue. The third issue, which is related to some of the disciplinary issue happened in the past couple of months. There are some minor ones and there are some also serious ones. But I want to assure all of you, in fact, we are doing investigation of all these cases. Some of them, a couple of them, in fact, they have already been settled with individuals, students from different parties. But there are also cases that we need to collect information, including evidence as well as talking to witnesses. So for all those cases, we have a handful of cases that we are in process. So I urge all of you to be patient with it. I understand that a lot of you, whenever you're contacting us, you always say that, I want to have the result right away. And I believe that, I think from individual standpoint, you want to have the result right away. But if you want to have a fair investigation so that we have all the solid evidence to take to the next step, you need to give us some time. And sometimes providing that kind of information from individual students is not as forthcoming as we expect. So the time is needed, and I can tell you that some of these cases are already in progress.
Well, we have many cases. There was another case handled by Student Discipline Committee, and the complaint was filed to challenge this may not, the procedure, they may have a procedural irregularity. So we did have another committee to investigate the case. And as of now, the committee is in the final stage of the investigation. And the committee promised we submit the final report to my office within a month. So by that time, we definitely know this outcome of the investigation. Thank you.
The university has certain dedicated resources to support any member in hardship situation. We used in the past for some family emergencies, health, and other unexpected development, which certainly was very useful. And I would like to just add personally, for any members, especially in the current challenging times, if anybody should, in a difficult situation, the university will invoke consistent policy to offer any member the same kind of support. So that is just out of a very simple reason that HKUST does support all and any member, whoever happen to be in harsh situation. And again, we are not judgmental. We just only want to know whether one is indeed in difficult situation, needing special care and support or not. That is one thing I just like to add.
That's